Hello, hello, noble ones. Welcome, welcome. How you doing? How you doing? Hello. We are multi-streaming tonight between Twitch and my second channel, Metatron's Academy, at least for the first hour or so. And then I'll probably switch to multi-streaming with my gaming channel because we will transition onto a night of gaming because tonight I'm playing Warhammer. But first, let's have some fun with some language stuff. How you guys doing? How you guys doing? All right, let me see what we've got. Hey, Metatron, good evening. Good evening, Samuel. Titan Bro, always good to have you here. Murph, hello, noble one. Good evening, Dreamheart. We've got Bane, Jerry, Buonasera from CF Tambuatco. Dreamheart says, I finally got my notification to work. That's great. You're doing great, Titan Bro. Good, good. Hey, Bane, Jerry. And let's see how we're doing over on YouTube. Hello from Sweden. Hey, Swedish historian. Hey Meta, too late for me to stay, but wishing you well. No problem, Mosh. Thank you for popping by. What did I miss? Tell me everything. We just arrived. Just saw Hawaiian pizza, Metatron. Well, as long as you then remove the pineapple and set it aside, then no problem. Nothing has happened. Yep. Hello, hello. Yeah, the loading music. Yeah, that's from Warhammer. In fact, let's put it a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Like this. And then I'll remove it in a second. Let's see. Hey Cody Scott, thank you for that. Appreciate. When will I react to language simp French? I did. I already did. But I think he posted something recently that I still have to react to. But the French one, I think I did. Hello from Dublin. Hey, DL from Dublin. Good. Oh yeah, you were one asking about that. You want to know how to super chat? You click on the little dollar. Right next to the chat before, yeah, it's pretty much where it is, if it's set up correctly. Not that you have to, but if you desire to do that, I will be very appreciative. Hey Katka, hello from Australia, says Katka. I'm not in Australia. Hi from Texas. Hey Tavares. I'm still fixing the situation here. We're gonna have a great stream tonight. I'm really excited. New Zealand, hey, we've got both. Australia and New Zealand. Love it. The Xenoist. Saluti dal Brasile. Hey Alan. Ciao Alan, come stai? So guys, just let me tell you this, because the first hour, and I want to say this for the people, because it's a multi-stream for the people on Twitch. For the first hour or so, maybe until midnight, well, I would say around an hour, I may be switching between languages quite a bit because we have guests today. We are multi-streaming with our friends over at Metatron's Academy, my language-focused channel. So I do have a few things I wanted to talk about. I really want to talk about what the heck a polyglot is, because we've been destroying polyglots for a while now, particularly with my, by the way, now formal alliance with Evil Dia. We've been exchanging emails. We are now preparing projects together for our blood hunts for the fake polyglots. So all of that is going to happen, and it's going to be great. In fact, I'm hoping to be able to have Evil Dia as a guest one of these nights during a live stream. Maybe he can teach me a little bit about Esperanto. We can talk about how we're going to plan our strategies and tactics to take on every single fake polyglot. But tonight I kind of wanted to speak a little bit about what a polyglot is. Because in order to successfully unmask them, we really have to understand what a polyglot is. Anyways, since it's fun, since we're all here for this, I might be switching between languages, because why not? Because why not? It's good fun, isn't it? I won't... Like, English is still going to be the main language, because I don't want to exclude anyone if I just happen to pick a language that maybe you guys don't understand. But that would be great. Samuel says, hello from Brazil, a huge fan of yours. Well, thank you so much. Obrigado. And maybe you can teach me some Portuguese tonight so I can practice. Yeah, why don't you type something in Portuguese and I'll try and read it, and we see how I fail miserably. That could be really entertaining to watch. So feel free to do that, Samuel, on Twitch. Hello there, dude from Bolivia, South America. Hey, Jorge. Thank you. Very nice. So Bolivia, then you speak Spanish. Is that your first language? I imagine with your name. Jorge Castro Arenas. Man, what a name you've got. It's almost like a trinomen from the Romans you've got there. Like, love that. And Daniel is Florencio is also Brazilian. Hey guys, come on. Anyone who speaks Portuguese, type something. Come on, guys, type something in Portuguese and I'll try and read it. Also, same for people who speak Spanish. Go for it. Whatever language you speak, just type it. I'll give it a try. Why not? Oh, let's see, let's see. So we got the first one. MC writes, ¿Cómo te va en el laburo como YouTuber? So I do understand that it means how is work going as a YouTuber. Muy bien, gracias. Tú eres muy gentil. What else have we got? Let's see. Ooh, okay, so we got something. Man, this is fun. So what did we get? And I do need to watch Rob Word's video on languages of the British Isles. I'll totally do that. Let's see, let's see. So we got something from YouTube from E. Quetka. He wrote in Portuguese. I'd like to underline I have no training whatsoever. Let me try. So, acredito que posso fazer toda palavra do português para ser alguém falando italiano. I don't know what I just said, and I probably butchered it terribly. Yeah, whatever that was. I do understand a little bit, but like I'm kind of missing the general meaning of what you were writing. But I still liked it because I love Portuguese. I love Portuguese. Your pronunciation is not bad. Well, good. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Ooh, we got some Mandarin from Koda, and he writes, 大家好，你会说中文吗? Yeah, 我会讲一些普通话. Yeah, I can read that much Mandarin, but I mean, that was very elementary, I suppose. So yeah. So 你好，你好，欢迎你们我的频道，我是梅达特龙，我们可以一起学汉语。We could do that. Cool. Also, you were saying you were saying Daniel is translating. I believe I can make every Portuguese word sound like someone speaking Italian. Probably. Sverige means Sweden in Swedish. Is it Sverige? Sverige? Really cool. Your Chinese is good, bro. I appreciate that. My Chinese is kind of, I would say, lower intermediate. Like, I'm kind of conversational unless you start speaking about stuff that I'm not. Like, we could speak, believe it or not, I can speak like, I can order food, I can survive in China, I can have a very easy chat whenever I go to a Chinese restaurant. I love telling them how much I love China, like the history, I mean, and that kind of stuff. And I like Chinese language, but that's it. Like, if they start speaking, maybe a little bit about 中国历史, like a little bit about the history, like 清熙皇帝, or stuff like that, but that's it. Like, if they start speaking about work problems and unemployment in the Republic, yeah, I've got a clue. So it really depends. It would really depends. Ooh, Oriental Pearl is here. Greetings from Japan. Konnichiwa, konnichiwa. 有名な人が来ました。素晴らしい、素晴らしい. I love Oriental Pearl's work. I love your work. You're fantastic. You are fantastic. Thank you. So cool to have Oriental Pearl joining the stream. Man. すごいですね。Oriental Pearl. How would you do that? Like, how would I say that in Japanese? Like, your actual name? Because, I mean, you could say Oriental Pearl. Would they even get it, though? Because it's like, it's heavy-handed katakana. ね。面白い. Yeah, as I was saying tonight we're swapping languages. 面白いから. So what have we got here? We also have on Twitch. How are things in Twitch? Oh, good. So Samuel liked my attempted, luckily not completely butchered pronunciation of Portuguese. Appreciate that. Buenas noches, Metatron. Buenas noches to you, Balaroma. Good to have you here. Someone is writing in. Is that Cyrillic? Because I can't read Russian, and I'm so slow at reading Greek that it's not even worth trying. It's actually easier for me to read Japanese than to read. Oh gosh, it's just one of those things. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, I see. So you actually use the whole kanji, but usually, yeah, the kanji for east and of, so pearl of the east. I see. Is that Tohoku? Toho? Toyo? I don't remember the second character there. But yeah, I do know east, east. And then that's pearl. Wow, in Japanese, but usually I tell people the name in katakana. Yeah, I can understand that. Believe it or not, sometimes there are some kanji, maybe not the case in this situation, but there are some kanji that are so complicated that sometimes even the Japanese freaking use either hiragana when they write. Like for instance, I don't know, anata or watashi. I see most Japanese just write it in hiragana, don't they? And then when it comes to words in like for instance orange katakana is way more used, or pink rather than like bara no iro for the color of roses for pink. And they do have an actual kanji for an original Japanese word for orange. I remember it. I don't remember what it is, like dai no iro, if I remember. I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. I only remember seeing it when I got my orange belt in karate when I was in Japan. And I remember so in very formal occasions they will do that, but in general they will swap to and prefer katakana. So it really depends. It really depends. What about Arabic, Metatron? I know absolutely nothing, and unfortunately, it's not one of those languages that if you write it, I could even attempt, unless like you transliterate it into letters. But I would still butcher it because I have no training whatsoever. But it would be fun to try. Like if I had like someone who speaks Arabic as a first language and they told me, "Hey, try and say this," and then they said it, I would totally try and repeat it. Toho, that's what it is. I thought Toyo for a moment. Toho and Shinju. I see Toho no Shinju. I'm just probably butchering butchering the pitch because I'm not sure of of if it's whatever the pitch it is, but cool. These are used in both Chinese and Japanese. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, yes, I can see that. Very cool. So there you go. You only use the characters once, I guess, and then anyone can read it, whether they are Mandarin speaking or yeah, I imagine perhaps, who knows, maybe even Cantonese, because would these be simplified? Yes. I mean, even in the Republic of China, they would simply, People's Republic of China, uh, the East is simplified. I don't think the second one is simplified, but I don't know about that one. 面白い。ありがとうございます。いろいろ教えていただいて。本当に面白い。Hello, Metatron. Hey, JT. How are you? How are you? How are you? Oh yeah, I do remember what's his name, language simp, calling Italian heterosexual French, and it killed me. Italian is rather than Italian heterosexual French absolutely killed me. It was so funny, man. How does he do that? How does he do that? That JT writes とても面白い。はい。私もそう思います。面白いね。Hello from Japan. Hey, Joao Pucci. Hello to you. You living in Japan right now? Thank you for the donation, Double HL and MCHL. If I were a non-binary samurai, which clan would you assign me to? Ooh, that's a difficult one. I haven't got a clue. Date, so you can have a date with whoever you want. Hey, how about that one? Man, that was improvised on the spot. And you thought you would get me, and I got you back. Anyways, Affixi, I just got access to Matt's dojo. He invited people from Uproot. He just finished for the day. Okay, how do you like it? So you're talking about Matt versus Japan, the last situation. How do you like it? The dojo thing. And let's see. Let's see. I met her. Have you had Sanskrit being spoken? I have, actually. There was a... So my cousin speaks Hindi, and she was taking classes in Sanskrit as well. And then once I went to two of the classes, and also because I was interested in how to pronounce the name of a bodhisattva, which was Avalokiteshvara. And I asked the professor how you pronounce it. The professor told me to pronounce it this way with a closed E, Avalokiteshvara. And then that was it. So I don't know any Sanskrit, but I did hear it spoken, and I think it's a very interesting language. Greetings from Al Mendes. Any super chats? Thank you so much for your generosity. ¿Qué onda, Metatron? ¿A qué hora vas por el pan? Greetings from Mexico and chance to talk about Mexicans and Mayans. Keep the great work. So yeah, Mexicas, the actual original Aztecs. Yeah, I do have a video on the Aztec civilization, and I would love, because I love Mesoamerican civilizations and everything really, from South America, Central America to North America, because Mexico, even though, believe it or not, a lot of people don't know that, but Mexico is in North America. Once someone got mad at me because I said that, and they're like, Mexico is not in North America, it's in Central America. Look it up. Look it up. It's North America, for crying out loud. Oh, we got someone writing Sicilian. Bong Donkey says, lo siciliano e l'arabo condividono somiglianze. You are absolutely right. Your Sicilian is impeccable, by the way, unless you're native, in which case that's why it is. But if you're not native, I have to say your Sicilian is impeccable. Congratulations how you wrote it. Onegai shimasu, JT, is what you were writing upstairs, up there. What were you saying? Ima wa ii desu. Kotaete kure. Oh, I see. Kotaete kurete. I'm not sure what you were saying, but yeah, cool, no problem. Onegai shimasu. Yeah, that's how you write onegai shimasu. Onegai shimasu. Yeah, you do use that a lot in Japan, don't you? And it's not the easiest thing to translate in English because the Japanese use it in such a variety of ways. And I'll get back to Twitch. I know you guys are writing a lot, so I'm gonna go read it. But I was saying onegai shimasu. Usually you could translate it as a please, but then again, Nihongo shite kudasai. Kudasai in that case kind of sounds like a please. It kind of means let me receive, literally. But then again, oshite kudasai is kind of like teach me, please. But then after that, they would say, onegai shimasu, which in that case, it means I honorably pray. I think that's, I honorably plead, sort of. But then they say it like before combat. In karate, they will say, onegai shimasu. And then they start punching and kicking each other. In that case, would it be like please? Please alone wouldn't work in English in that case, would it? So it's a fascinating word that has such a depth of nuance, which, I mean, makes sense. The Japanese often leave stuff out that you need to understand through the context. It's just a cultural thing. Just like when they use chotto and then stop. It's such a funny thing. Chotto, just chotto. And that means, basically, there is a whole extended meaning that you just understand from context and politeness. He doesn't even have to tell you that he's having trouble and wanting you not to do something. You just understand it because just they say chotto. Isn't it? Anyways, let me see. How are things on Twitch? Let's see. So Tambuaco was asking what's the main difference between Castilian Spanish and Argentine Spanish. I think people in Argentina still call it Castilian, by the way. I believe Castilian includes both varieties of Spanish spoken in Spain, excluding the areas where they speak Catalan, and then but also the sort of Spanish that went up into the colonies in the New World. And so I think they all speak Castilian. It's just that they have different accents and different vocabulary choices, and of course the pronunciation. For instance, I do believe that only in Spain you find people using the th sound, the interdental fricative, such as gracias, conversación, cabeza. So both the C and the Z are pronounced like an interdental TH in English in the word think. But I don't believe that happens anywhere in South American Spanish. It's still Castilian, and even in Mexican Spanish at that point, but it becomes an S, basically. So it's like cabeza rather than cabeza, as one of the differences. Then usually in Spain Spanish, in the Madrid accent, I noticed that people tend to have a retracted S at the end of words. So it's kind of that sound that you have in between the a full-on S in the front and then a full-on sh, as in SH. It's a sound in between. You find it in Greek. You find it in Northern Italy. It's not native for me, by the way. Mine is a frontal S because I'm from Sicily, but my dad has a retracted S natively. It's how classical Latin used to be pronounced. In fact, it's a conservative sound, if you will, a more traditional sound. And then yeah, people in Spain use it, and I think in some areas in Portugal, maybe, I don't know if Portuguese uses that sound, but it would be something like, let me think. My vocabulary in Spanish is not great. los pimientos. Yeah, I think that's a good example. I don't know why I thought of that. Bell peppers, I guess. But yeah, los pimientos, las ventanas. It's like this sh that you get in this variety. I do not believe they have that. I think it's a full frontal S in South America. Regardless, this is just a few things. I'm not an expert in Spanish at all. Just one question. Are you like around HSK4 in Chinese? Well, I haven't been professionally assessed. Maybe like a low HSK4 is where I would place myself. But I would have to really brush up the Hanzi because I've only been practicing a little bit the spoken language. Like whenever I go to a Chinese restaurant, I pester those poor people, telling them 我会讲一些普通话，我很喜欢中国，我喜欢中国的历史. I keep telling them my own business, I guess. So I tell them 我要筷子，我要筷子，我是学生, and that kind of stuff. I like practicing that. So maybe with that, but then again, my hands are not great, so it kind of depends. I'll get it. I'll get there one day. I do believe that eventually, if I keep focusing on it a little bit, we might manage. And Almendez, thank you for the donation. Did you know my fellow Mayans, Yucatecans, they tore down a statue of Poseidon because it offended the god Kukulkan? That's a shame because I don't like it when they destroy art. I just look at it as art. I mean, I'm a Christian, but Poseidon doesn't offend me in any way, shape, or form. I think it's a beautiful cultural heritage that we have from the classical period, and I look at it as a form of artistic expression. So it's kind of a shame if they did that. At least that's just my opinion. So very nice. Yeah, I like Gotham is preaching. You're preaching it, mate. Vulgar Latin is just Latin. I agree 100%. There's no such thing as vulgar Latin. Do you think you speak at the same level as Matt versus Japan? Are you talking about Japanese? I would play, so I do consider myself to be fluent. I can switch. I could switch right now. I might do it in a little bit, and I could have the entire stream in Japanese. So I think he's a bit higher than me, and his pitch knowledge is definitely superior to mine. I have studied pitch. Usually I try to pronounce things in the correct pitch, but I do mess up because of bad habits. Because remember, I reached fluency before I started actually deep diving into pitch. I had like a little bit of a groundwork on my pitch, but very basic. Then I reached fluency. Then I retroactively had to change things. So sometimes when I speak fast, my pitch goes to hell. Whereas if I'm taking time to think about things that I'll remember, it's not heta des, it's heta des. If I can think, I know. But if I start speaking fast, then that's when I kind of lose pitch. He instead has complete mastery over his pitch. So his pitch is definitely, I think he's a better speaker of Japanese overall. When it comes, even when we talk about it with Dogen, Dogen is a phenomenal speaker. I think Dogen's understanding of pitch is the highest. I would put Dogen a little underneath him. I would put Matt versus Japan, and then I put myself somewhere here when it comes to pitch. When it comes to fluency, I put Matt versus Japan the highest. When it comes to who's more fluent between me and Dogen, it's really difficult to know because Dogen is too humble. He's such a humble guy that every time his audience asks him, he always says, oh no, Metatron is definitely more fluent than me. But am I? I mean, I don't know. If we're talking about speed only, then yeah, I'm a very fast speaker. I can speak Japanese like a machine gun if I need to. I used to do it professionally as I was interpreting. But then again, I think he has better vocabulary than me. Like if we go technical, I believe because he lived in Japan longer. So it's really difficult. It depends on the skill at that point. And I'm just trying to be, like, I'm not trying to be fake humble, but at the same time, I want to be fair with my own assessment, right? On my own level or level of other fellow speakers. So that's how I would say it, probably. ということで質問ありがとう。面白いですね。やはり、マットと道元はマットと道元の日本語は本当にすごい。二人とも、流暢。本当にすごい。彼らの日本語は上手というか、 Well, everyone says jozu, so I'm not going to use jozu for them. I think ryucho, which actually means fluent, or rippa. There we go. So I don't have to use jozu desu ne. I'll just say rippa desu. Rippa. Rippa is like when someone is very exceptional, like really good. マットは本当にすごい。いや、そうですね。皆さんこんばんは。あ、こんばんは、ルイス。私のストリームにようこそ。で、本当にありがとうございます。今日は言語について話したいと思います。ものすごく面白い話題ですよね、言語は。ということで、私はやっぱり日本語は8年間ぐらい勉強しましたね。8年。8 years。8年間ぐらい日本語を勉強しました。私は。中国語はね、どれぐらいかな、多分4年間 ?4 年中国語は Chinese。中国語は4年ぐらい勉強しました。でも、やはり、日本語の方が話せると思います。はい。ということで、Let's switch back to English for now. We might switch back to Japanese in a little bit. What modern weapon would a legionary pick? Machine gun, probably. Fluent is not necessarily defined. That is a very good point. What does fluent mean? I think depending on who you ask, people will give you different definitions, and maybe that's one of the things we could review in a little bit today. We could open up a few dictionary definitions and see what we get, and then see if we can get like a democratically elected definition, at least within our community of Metatron's Academy and Twitch. Talking about Twitch, how are we doing here? Let me see. Yeah, why destroyed? Exactly, Titan Bro. I agree. Yeah, some people call it a lisp. Technically, it's not a lisp. And not because I have to say the linguistic term, which I understand can make me sound a little obnoxious. I don't want to force people to say fricative interdental. I get it, but it's not a lisp technically. Just like think is not a lisp. It's the same sound, the one in Spanish. Yeah, and if they didn't want that statue, they could have sold it. I agree. Oh, that's a good one. So Tambuako is asking a question about Japanese, and he says, in Japanese, when do you use shi versus yon? I think you mean without the G, because number 4, it's yon in counting. So generally speaking, when you're counting in Japanese from 1 to 10, you have you have lots of different systems, but when they are literally doing this without a specific shape in mind, then usually the Japanese will use the one that is like ich, ni, san, yon. So yon is more used by the population, and then go, roku, nana, hachi, then again the pitch, yeah, and then kyu, ju. The thing is though that if you heard shi, it's probably because you may have had experience in martial arts, because in martial arts instead the Japanese will use shi and shichi instead of yon and nana. Is nana down, bottom, low to high? Probably, I would say so. So like in martial arts, you hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is usually how you hear it. So if you're counting in an everyday conversation, I would suggest to use yon, but if you do use shi, they will understand. So there's nothing wrong with using that. Yeah. I actually learned the martial art version first, which is why I'm a little slower when I have to use yon and nana, believe it or not. Metatron, do you know that você in Portuguese is not a personal but a treatment pronoun for Old Portuguese vossa mercê? Oh, that's interesting. And it's not related to the personal subject pronouns. So it's very interesting that it's not related. Well, maybe possessive because of vossa, yours, your mercy. Oh, at your mercy. In Italian, we do have something like this because you could say vostra signoria, your lordship. And it's something some people still use in Sicilian because we have the contracted form vossia, which literally means vostra signoria, your lordship. And we are the only ones to use it. As you would imagine, a language tends to be more conservative and more traditional when it comes to language. That's why Icelandic is probably the closest to Old Norse. Still different, but probably closer. Because it's an island, it often happens like that. So yeah, we have that, vossia. You hear it a lot in mafia movies, when like the guy is like, vossia, sto parlando con vossia. When they put on this kind of voice, not every Sicilian speaks like that, but all the people do. fascinating stuff. And I do use the word fascinating too much, just so you know. I have to find 興味深い in Japanese, by the way. Maybe I could start using that. Have you done a video comparing Sardinian to other languages? Yes, Brennan, and I even have a Sardinian speaker on that video. And when you say Sardinian, do you have a specific type? Because the type of they have different varieties, just like there are different varieties of Sicilian that differ quite significantly. The ultra-conservative, linguistically speaking, the ultra-conservative version of Sardinian that people say the closest to Latin is the northern one. Yeah, maybe that's the origin of Spanish ustedes. Yeah, usted, ustedes. Probably. And believe it or not, you know how in Spanish you can say vosotros and nosotros. In Italian, we just say noi, voi. But in Sicilian, we say nuatri, vuatri, which is the exact same as vosotros and nosotros, just translated literally into Sicilian. There is a stronger connection in that case between Sicilian and Spanish than there is between Sicilian and Italian, believe it or not. It's not often the case. Italian probably still is closer to Sicilian on some respects, but do remember that I'm a strong proponent of the idea that Sicilian is not a dialect of Italian. Sicilian is a dialect of Latin. So it's a sister language to Italian. I'm strongly I do believe that very much. Orgoglio siciliano, absolutely bong donkey. You've got to be Sicilian. You know Sicilian too well. How do you feel about dubbing in films? They ask on Twitch. To me, foreign languages are a form of music, so I would rather have original language with English subtitles. I think it's a personal preference. It's nice to offer the choice. Because for me, for instance, in Italy we do dub everything, but we have excellent voice actors. So Italian dubbing of anime, for instance, it's really, really good. And I was brought up with that, so it was my preferred way of watching anime until I actually learned freaking Japanese. Now I don't, I just use the Japanese directly. Also because it's a little natsukashi, it's a little nostalgic. But I think it's nice to give the option to people, and he also employs voice actors, so why not? YL says, ¿Cómo está? Linguistic student from Southeast Asia here. Oh, I love it. I would love to visit Southeast Asia. You people are so friendly, and I know that I'm kind of creating a little bit of a wide. I understand there are different countries, different cultures, different languages. Just that every person that I've ever met who told me they were from Southeast Asia, they were warm and welcoming. So it must be something. It must be something that has to do with that. Would love a reaction for ecolinguist Neapolitan versus other language. Oh yeah, I saw the picture with the guy with the cigar. My gosh, that guy's so Neapolitan on that picture is insane. I saw it. I'm considering. I might do it. We'll see. このビデオを作るかもしれない. So I'll do it, perhaps. So Japanese has so many ways to say maybe. I mean, even English I could swap to perhaps. But I love Japanese because you could say 多分 and put it at the beginning of the sentence. So you could say, I don't know, 多分、日本に行きます。多分、お好み焼きを食べる. So maybe I'll do this, right? 多分. Or you can put かもしれない or the more polite かもしれません at the end of a sentence instead of at the beginning. So you could say something like 日本料理を食べるかもしれません or you could say 東京に行くかもしれない. Of course, the verb needs to remain unconjugated in that case. I really like かもしれない、かもしれません but I also like 多分. I think they're both fun. That's actually the thing I like the most about Japanese, that you can really say the same thing in so many different ways, even if you start adding yo or like whatever. If you're a woman, you want to add wa yo. If you want to sound a little like a princess, like kirei wa yo. It makes you sound like a princess, but whatever, some people use it. Or if you just want to add yo, because it really changes the flavor of the sentence, and I love it. I love it. Like imagine if I said 仕事に戻る. I will return to work. 仕事に戻る. Imagine if I said, like that sounds standard, okay, and then I want to be 丁寧, I want to be nice about it, sound polite. 仕事に戻ります。仕事に戻ります。But I could say 仕事に戻るよ。仕事に戻るよ。仕事に戻るぜ. It makes me sound like a punk now if I add ze. Zo, I almost never hear it unless it's a joke. Naguru zo, I'll beat you. Naguru zo, I heard it used as a joke. In anime, it's used a lot. Ikuzo. Yeah, I almost never hear it in actual spoken Japanese. But yo is used a lot. Dayo, dayo in Tokyo is used a lot, or in general the East. So like, omoshiroin dayo. It's kind of an emphatic way, and it's very anime sounding, but they do use it, particularly the younger generation, I suppose. Maji kayo. Kayo is another one. And they really do sound different. And then in some regions, they will put, for instance, I noticed that in the Osaka, or in general Kansai region, instead of, like, they never use dayo, never, unless they feel like, I want to speak Hyojungo today, I want to speak like someone from Tokyo. And if they don't do that, which is very rare anyways, because they're very proud of their accent, then they will add wa, which they don't really do in the East unless you're a woman, but in the West they do, and it's so funny because then people in the West of Japan think that people in the East are effeminate. It's just it's a mess, but I love it. It's a wonderful mess. It's like almost poetic. Hey, Sports Live, good to have you here. So how are we doing on Twitch? And by the way, guys on Twitch, I know I'm starting with languages, but we're going to transition into gaming as soon as we finish the first hour. I'm going to go back to Warhammer Fantasy because there is a battle that I just could not win. And tonight I'm not going to bed until I win that battle. So we're playing quite a bit. So we have a professional pessimist writes, Buenas noches, tienes muy buen nivel en varios idiomas. Cool. You have a pretty good level in several languages. I think that's what that means. Interesting, because in Italian, language is lingua, lingue for plural, but we do have the word idioma. We don't use it much, but we do have it. Maybe we use it more in technical terms, say, or if we want to talking about like an idiomatic saying, like an expression. But you guys instead tend to use, I think you do have like a similar word to language, but you do seem to prefer to use idiomas to mean English language. So I do understand it. Anyways, which is the magic of Romance languages, isn't it? The magic of Romance language. And JT was writing, そうです。わかります。はい。よかったですね。よかったですね。Careful with the pitch. It's よかった, not よかった. I used to say よかった. Then I figured out, no, it's よかった. 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 Yeah, that's the pitch. It's one of those situations where I lose the pitch if I'm not careful. Oh, I'm very confident with the pitch of everything samurai related, though. All the weapons, I know the pitch for those. You need the rhino from Gladiator 2. Absolutely, I do. Like a skull crusher of corn. That's what I do. That's what I need. And Italian is already complicated with the regions and all. Well, yes, sure. Oh, there we go. So Jorge explains to us that la palabra usted deriva de vuestra merced. Cool. So it's similar. You see, all Romance languages, really, really sister languages, right? Thank you for the donation, the Zenoist. Tolerating ambiguity in anime is fine for me because it doesn't stop the story, but any advice when trying to learn Japanese with games where misunderstanding can cause things to get stuck? I also have this problem with books. So can you give me an example of ambiguity? Because, I mean, Japanese, I understand it can be a little ambiguous, but if it's a piece of information that is absolutely necessary, like during a tutorial in a game, usually they're very explicative. Because when I lived in Japan, I was there for 4 years. Of course, I bought a PlayStation. First, I bought a PSP with my first salary, and then I bought a PlayStation 3 with my second salary. And I played all sorts of video games in Japanese, including Final Fantasy. And goodness gracious, the kind of kanji that they come up with, I think they're literally making up words when it comes to Final Fantasy, but whatever. Yeah, so I don't remember ambiguity being a problem, but then again, I was already fluent, so I would need an example. WH, thank you for the donation. Do you think Japanese should have kept the shogunate, or was it better going to the emperor? Ooh, that's a difficult one. I think it was inevitable, to be honest, but in the way the military, and in general the military class, the warrior class, had developed, there was no way to avoid the shogunate and the reduction of power of the emperor. At the end of the day, yeah, no, probably was advantageous to the Japanese to switch to the shogunate. Maybe it's kind of a difficult one to address, and it's more, maybe it's a bit too historical for me to want to dive into it on mostly a linguistic. But it is a stream, but it is a very interesting question, so I do appreciate that. Maybe for a video at one point. And Franco, JV Franco says in Portuguese, lingua is the most common, and idioma would be something more classy. So just like Italian, there you go. Greetings, number one. Hey there. Hello to you. And JV Franco was asking, from all of Italian accents, which one would you say is the easiest for a Portuguese speaker to learn? I have some problems trying to pronounce li sound. Okay, so in general, I would still suggest you to learn standard Italian because it's going to be the easiest, simply because you're going to have access to a lot more documentation and study aids. So that's still probably, unless you're like married to someone from Milan, then by all means. Or if you're married to a Sicilian, learn Italian with a Sicilian accent. I would still learn Italian rather than Sicilian. And I say that as a Sicilian, is unless you like, no, I love Sicilian, I want to learn it, then absolutely, impariamo, t'insegno siciliano, t'insegno io. I would teach you Sicilian in that case. As a Portuguese, if you struggle with gli, then probably what you're struggling with, because gli has 3 acceptable pronunciations in Italy, so I will probably solve your problem right now. If you're struggling with li, it probably means that you're struggling with figuring out the standard pronunciation, because GL, basically it's a sound whereby you have to put, like, your tongue needs to touch the palate, and you have to create li, 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 li. So it can be a little difficult, even for some Italian speakers, by the way, if they don't have this sound natively, depending on the region. Now, in the south, this sound is simplified, and it becomes a Y. So it's yi, Y-E, Y-I, basically. So if you think that's easier for you, then maybe southern accents might be a little easier. So for instance, to give you, and I'll give you the instances in a moment, in some northern regions instead, they simplify it into an L. So they just drop the whole diphthong and just pronounce it as an L. Not everyone does it, by the way, but it does happen. So to give you an example, the word for family, in standard Italian, it's famiglia, famiglia. In the south, it becomes famiglia, so it's a Y, famiglia. And in the north, sometimes people simplify it into familia, and it's basically just an L. It's up to you, really. Any of these would be acceptable at the end of the day. It's just whatever floats your boat. But don't think that the GL sound is so difficult, because at the end of the day, even if you slightly approximate it, and if the Y is easier, so the southern way, you can still learn everything else in a standard accent. And just that single sound, you pronounce it like a southern, is not a big deal. Yeah, your Italian could still be considered very clean and very easy to understand. I would love to learn Portuguese, Samuel, 100%. 100%. Portuguese has that sound, though. It's written as LH. Well, there you go. There we go. Not a problem, Leghetto. More comfortable here on Twitch. Yeah, sure. Whatever you like. We are multi-streaming to give you options. Have you played Rise of Ronin? Thank you for the donation. Not yet. Would you recommend it? Grazie, Stridewell. Sei un grande, non c'è dubbio. Grazie mille. Termae Romae. Yeah, Kapowitz is mentioning that one anime that is set in ancient Rome, and it's about the Roman baths. And which, by the way, in Italy, usually it's more commonly pronounced, of course, in the ecclesiastical pronunciation. So most Italians will read it as Terme Rome, the simplified form that started to become popular in the rural areas of Rome. But yeah, in classical Latin pronunciation, so the pronunciation used between from the third, I would say, maybe from like the first century BC to the first century AD, or maybe third century to third century BC AD. Yeah, in that one, yeah, the diphthong is separated and it's termae, romae. But that, and then you would have to also be careful when it comes to phonemic vowel length. But all of this requires training, even if you are a native Italian, because to a lot of Italian, classical pronunciation or restored pronunciation sounds very odd. I love it, but I put a lot of years in it. And like when you say Caesar instead of saying Cesar, because in ecclesiastical pronunciation it's Cesar, but in classical it's Caesar, and it's absolutely how the Romans pronounce it. There is no doubt about it. Happy to present the data to back that up, by the way. That's not a great word, Ilya, but I'm sure it can be very handy. So Robatak asks me what it means. You went to a small theater in Agrigento, very cool, in Sicily, and you said there was a character who was rubbing his fingers on their teeth. No idea. Never seen it. It might be a theatrical thing. It might be something ancient, maybe, but I've never heard of it. Sì. Tu sei un buon maestro, saluto. Grazie, Bong. Tu sei troppo forte. Tu sei troppo forte. Tu sei coinarura. Tu sei coinarura. Yeah, Julian is presenting an interesting piece of information, and he says, and in Russian, pronunciation for Caesar is Tsar, isn't it? It's not that it's the pronunciation, it's that the word, etymologically speaking, derives from Latin Kaiser, just like the word for emperor in German, Kaiser, is still pronounced slightly different, but it derives etymologically from Kaiser. And that's the same. If you look at the way the Greeks used to call them, so the people that were using that title in Rome, they still spell it with a K. So there is no doubt, even in the surrounding languages, a lot of these words derive from it, and simply because modern Italian evolved into a ch sound, yeah, that's just, now it would be considered an Italianate pronunciation, which would be anachronistic if placed in ancient Rome, but perfectly viable, by the way, if you're reading Catholic prayers. Then by all means, use ecclesiastical pronunciation. In fact, I think it's better if you recite the Lord's Prayer or the Holy Mary, if you really want to do it in Latin, Pater Noster, our Father. Yeah, I would do it in ecclesiastical. Doing it in classical is I mean, you're being a virtuoso at that point, but there is no point. There is no reason. Yeah. I think in the majority of cases, Julian, Caesar used Latin. But yeah, the Roman aristocracy and upper class, when they did know Greek, oh, they showed it off because it was the language of the learned. 100%. Kind of similar as how Norman French was considered the language of aristocracy in England after post Battle of Hastings of 1066. Oh, Giuliano likes Russian. Very cool. And yeah, you're telling me that your favorite type of vodka is called Tsarkaya. Very cool. Wow. I mean, I don't really drink vodka. I only tried it once in my life. But yeah, I mean, if you like it, yeah, as long as you don't drink it and then you drive. That's the only thing I'm going to tell you don't do. But otherwise, have fun. How are we doing on Twitch? Compared to British English, have there been many American English words, usages that surprised you? Well, as I say, it kind of depends. Yeah, maybe the fact that in like my wife's family, and my wife does it too, they use fixing when instead of saying I'm going to do something. And I think it's typical of southern states. They say I'm fixing to cook dinner, or I'm fixing to go out, instead of I'm about to, or I'm going to. So that one was interesting, because you're fixing what? What are you fixing? Was my first reaction to that. In general, when it comes instead to general American, Well, I do like the word flashlight. I like it more than torch. I will say torch if I don't think. That's my first choice for like an actual flashlight, but I do like flashlight more. And then, yeah, I mean, elevator instead of lift. I understand it. It does elevate you unless you go down. Then why is it an elevator? It's one of those things. And then what else? Trousers swapped to pants. If I think of pants, I think of underwear. And the car, everything is different. Like hood instead of bonnet. When I say bonnet, my father-in-law makes fun of me. He's like, the bonnet, the boot. Because they're like the hood and the trunk. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. It's America, so say trunk. Whatever. But yeah, that. But one word that I do like bonnet more. But I do like the word. I like the pronunciation. So I say debris. Like there is a lot of debris in the sense of detritus. But I notice the people in America say debris, and I think it sounds cooler. I like debris more. So I might start saying it that way because I've always said debris. When it comes to the eyes, I just can't help it. For me, it's dynasty, privacy, and vitamin. So every time my wife is like, did you take your vitamins? I'm like, yeah, I took the vitamins. Which vitamins did you take? I took vitamin C. It's like it's a competition. It's a competition at that point. What's your favorite word in English? Mine would be machine. Machine is actually an excellent word because it's probably the only word in English, and this is going to blow your mind, but it's probably the only word in English that I can think of where the I is pronounced like an Italian would pronounce every I in English naturally. So I had to learn to say this instead of this, or to say sit instead of sit, because an Italian will pronounce I's, and I think Spanish speakers, French speakers, we all do. Romance languages, if you give us an I and you tell us, don't pronounce it I, like in science, but pronounce it okay, the sound in between, right? The sound of sit and limerick and knitting. We will say, knitting, sit, unless we're trained. Machine is the only one where no Italian will ever make a mistake because we'll read it like that naturally. Machine. I cannot think of any other word in English where the I, in its short form, is actually a E sound. It's a fascinating thing, isn't it? Oh yeah, petrol versus gas. That's right. I think I got used to my wife saying we need to get gas. That's how she says it. I remember back in England, I was driving. That's where I got my first driving license. I got an Italian driving license, a British driving license, and an American driving license. I have 3 licenses. I mean, I had to swap it, so I don't have the Italian anymore. And the English one I lost. Never mind, I got one, but I did it 3 times. Anyways, I remember when I was driving in England, I was like, hey, we need to go to the petrol station. Is there a petrol station nearby? I remember that. But now no one says petrol here. Like I guess petroleum, it is petroleum, but gas. Everyone says gas. Oh yeah, pristine is another one. Thank you for that. Marine, okay, then you just proved me wrong. Christine, well, that's a name though. So with the name, I'm going to be like, a name is kind of a different matter altogether. But pristine, excellent. Is it pristine or is it pristine? Pristine. I think it is pristine, actually. Pristine condition. I haven't got a clue. You'll tell me. Marine is an excellent one. Yeah, marine. You're right. Very cool. That one has 2 different ones. Yeah, pristine. I believe it. Pristine. Yeah, exactly. I believe that's the pronunciation. Yes. Gasoline. Gas. Exactly. Infinite and finite. Yeah, those 2 drive me nuts. It should be infinite and finite, or infinite and finite. That's how it should be. Tangerine, that's another one. Good. Yeah, pristine, Nina. Yeah, you're right. Cool. Look at that. We found quite a few. Fatigue, same as machine. You're right. Fatigue. Yeah, you guys found a lot. I appreciate that. Very cool. It's more French when you say debris, like with the other accent, maybe. It's a bit like you guys say garage, and I would say garage. but not in Italian. If I say it in Italian, I say garage. So in Italian, it's similar to French and therefore similar to American English. But when I speak English, because I learned to do it differently, I would say the car is in the garage. That's what I would say. It's in the garage. Did you leave the garage door open? Garage, yeah. That's so weird. But then if I'm speaking Italian, andiamo in garage. I do say garage. No one in Italy would say garage. And yet the England is closer to it. I haven't got a clue. It's probably because we got it from French, though. That's why. Yeah. Let's see. But yeah, relief, good, but there is an E as well. So I wonder if that's what's creating that. And garbage, yeah, sure. I mean, I still say rubbish. When I don't like something, it's rubbish rather than saying it's garbage. I do say garbage occasionally, though. Take out the. My wife, yeah, I kind of think I got overwhelmed with the word trash. So take out the trash, take out the litter, take out the. Is that how they say it in England? It's a litter box, or is it take out the rubbish? No, I don't think people say take out the rubbish. That's actually funny. If it seems like I'm insulting it. Yeah, or like the thing about nosebleed, as opposed to a bloody nose. I cannot say bloody. Now, I know Americans say that when you got some blood. I can't say it because I feel like I'm swearing against the nose. With your bloody nose. Look at this bloody nose. I feel like I'm swearing against the nose. Yeah, junk as well. Yeah, sure. Litter makes me think of cat litter too. True. A litter can, a litter bin. They do say litter bin, though. A litter bin. You take it, the bins here in England, you take it the bins. So take the bins. Take out the bins. Is that what you would say? Matt Potter. Wow, what a name. Potted plant versus pot plant. You put the litter in the bin. Oh, I see, Nina. Put the litter in the bin. Yeah, you wouldn't put the rubbish in the bin. Although, I don't know, I might start to take out the rubbish. Yeah, that is accurate. Okay. All right. So, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know, it's been decades since I was in England in my late teens. So now it's a little, I don't even know it's probably like some things, I might sound a little out of date with my vocabulary, because I would still say, oh, that's wicked. Do people even say it? Because I remember people saying it back then, oh, brilliant. The English, rather than saying cool, the English at the time when I was in England used to say, that's brilliant. That's brilliant, that is. And then sometimes they do that, like in informal speech. I love when English people do that. Like they repeat the pronoun. You're crazy, you. It depends on the region, of course. But it's funny when they do that. I love it. I'm English, I am. Il bidone della spazzatura, that's Italian. Munnez, that's Neapolitan. Australia is Texan England. Wow, that's an interesting way to say it. You know, I like the Australian accent a lot. And then again, there are several different varieties, of course. But it's I don't think I can put on a convincing Australian accent. The only thing I know is that I was watching a movie once that I really liked. It's called, gosh, I don't remember, but all the actors are Australian because it's set in Australia. It's a really good sci-fi movie. Excellent. And Other Life, that's what it's called, Other Life. And I remember the lady, something happened, and she goes, oh no. I'll never forget that. I probably didn't do it right, but when she did it, it sounded so freaking Australian. It was great. It was great. Say mate all the time. Thing is, though, the English do it too. The English use mate as much as the Australians. And if you get, yeah, I know, oh no, yeah, oh no. Anyways, I'll stop. But the English do that. And if you get a Cockney, instead of saying mate, they will say a bit like might, which kind of sounds like some Australians do. So vowel-wise, there is a difference. I think they open their mouth more, and I think Australians have the rising terminal. So they make a statement, but it sounds like a question. I don't think Cockneys do that. I think they go down at the end of, so the intonation is different, but from a technical perspective. But some Cockneys, goodness gracious, they have really nasalized sounds. And that, I would say, I don't know if this is controversial, but to me, a Cockney sounds closer. It's still very distinct from an Australian, but a Cockney sounds closer to an Australian than he does to another English from the north of England, for instance. Like a Scouse accent, Liverpool, when they go like Buch or whatever, pub, whatever you want, or a Mancunian accent, they sound miles. Like the difference is monumental with a Cockney, or even just a regular Londoner. But if you get some, but then again, like Cockney sounds a lot closer to an Australian at that point, and yet they're on the other side of the planet. It's fascinating, and there you go. I said fascinating again. Usually, you watch my videos at 2.3 speed. Really, I don't think you can, mate. I think 2 speed is the maximum on YouTube, unless you found a way. I do use many English terms, says Sabrina. I say bloody often. I prefer bin better than trash, and petrol, as it reminds me of Peppa Pig. That's adorable. Yeah, I like having a little bit of, freedom of using a term just because you like it. That's something I like doing. My problem really, I do have, however, a problem with the Kiwi accent. So from New Zealand. And my problem is I cannot do react videos if the person speaking has a Kiwi accent because I like it so much that I keep mimicking them and I cannot stop it. It's like a reflex at that point. So like they will say whatever it is, eat it. Or like, when they have these very, very closed, like instead of red, they will say red. Like they have these sounds and I keep repeating it and I can't stop it, and I'm sure it's so annoying to anyone watching that I actually have to quit the reaction video because I can't stop it. Man, the Kiwi accent is so good. Tin instead of 10. Yeah. I reckon is another one. Yeah, that both English and Australians use. I reckon. It's quite good, I reckon. Yeah, they do use it. They do both use it. It's a common piece of vocabulary between England and that. Epsilon Sama says your English doesn't sound Italian at all, to be honest. Thing is, though, I think you can still tell I'm not a native speaker. It's like probably some people, if they have a good ear for languages, they could say this guy doesn't sound native, but we can tell he picked it up probably in England. That's because I don't sound like, to an English person, I don't sound English, but usually, but to someone who, or maybe I can say a few sentences where they're like, is he English? But then I will lose it because maybe I get a little excited. My Italian rhythm goes all over the place, and there you go, not English. But to someone who expects a thick Italian accent, then yeah, sure. I don't think I have a thick Italian accent, but I believe it's still there. If I were to self-assess professionally, then I would say that. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, exactly, Giuliano. That's what I would think. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Uh, yeah, Kirsche says an English word that I really like using is bruv. I just think it's so addictive. So because you write it with a V, so you're putting on a little bit of a Cockney accent, then brava, because that's what they do. They change the into a V and a th into an F, and the G at the end into an F into a K. Like they'll say anything instead of anything, and then they'll say I think instead of I think. And then, of course, if I do it, I'm kind of approximating it. You need a real Cockney to do a proper Cockney accent. They even have a name for it. They call it Mockney when someone tries to put on and fails miserably. But yeah, we say, I reckon in Texas. That's fast. Don't say it. That's really interesting. That is very interesting to me. So yeah, let me see on Twitch. I don't want to just don't know. I need to give some. Let me see. Michael Caine, the actor, is authentic Cockney. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about, and yeah, he's really good. He's really, really good. Let's see. Interesting one. So it's weird. CF is saying it's weird how close South African and Australian sound, and they are so far apart. So to me, a South African still sounds distinctive. Like the accent is different enough for me to be able to say that's not an Australian. And you know how? Because to me, Australian is sort of, again, it depends on the area of Australia, but the typical broad Aussie accent is kind of closer to a Cockney. But the thick South African accent sounds like someone who's trying to be extremely posh to a fault. That's how I would describe a typical South African accent, the way I heard it, whether it be from, I don't know, Cape Town or Johannesburg. I'm sure there are differences, but that I wouldn't be able to tell. But I say, whenever I heard a South African speak, they sound like they are extremely posh. They try to be so posh that it sounds unnatural. So it's a type of posh that is different from a upper class Southern English accent, if you know what I mean. Like, I can tell them apart, even though I'm not native. Hey, Lee Hunik, good to have you here, joining the live stream. Yeah, there we go. James is actually confirming, because when I say it, just take it with a pinch of salt. But when a native says it, James says, I'm Australian and I can instantly tell a South African accent. They are different. Do they sound like they're trying to be ultra proper as well, or is it just me? Because that's what it sounds like to me, an Australian accent. Yeah. You have a few accents in New Zealand. Oh, I believe it. Absolutely, I believe it. I'm sure there are a few accents everywhere. Like the whole world is like this. In fact, sometimes we have this deceptive perception that usually you have when you're a beginner of a within the world or the sphere of foreign language acquisition. When you start learning another language, you have this false illusion that comes from your perspective, whereby your native language is so complicated and has all of these words and it has all of these accents, but then Italian is just Italian, or Mandarin is just Mandarin. But when you become at least an upper intermediate to an advanced level speaker, and you're actually exposed to the depth of your target language, then you realize, oh, damn. So someone from Beijing, someone from even the outskirts of Beijing sounds different from someone from Beijing city. And then, of course, someone from Shanghai, someone from Xi'an, someone from whatever the heck, Harbin, they all sound different. And so the language is just as deep. Now, given there are differences, there are languages that are objectively faster, for instance. There are languages that objectively have a higher number of vocabulary of words, but these differences still, the language is still not flat like we often think. And for instance, Italian, every region speaks differently, and within those regions, every major city has a specific accent. And in fact, in Italian, there is more difference and variety within the regional accents than there is in English, even though English already has a lot. Like is it? And the reason for that, I would say, English within one nation, though. So if we start looking at English as we also include American English, whatever, then yeah, no, maybe English will have more then because of all the different colonial originated accents. In that case, no, I will give it to English. But if you just take the accents in America, or you just take the accents in England, the difference and the inability of understand each other between regions, like if we use dialects or if we use our regional languages, we can't communicate. They are not mutually intelligible. And so yeah, in Italian it's like that. We have to use standard. Even if we use it with a thick accent, we have to use standard for communication. I cannot communicate with my father if he uses Furlan from the northeast and if I use Sicilian from the southwest. Absolutely impossible. We will not understand almost a word. We'll understand a little bit, but not much. So yeah. Anyways, it's 12:15, guys. So here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna switch now to gaming. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to see, but it was great. We had a fantastic stream. I loved it, by the way. This was really good. But I also want to do the gaming stream. So for those of you who are on Twitch right now, I'm just going to change the title. I'm going to insert the game, and you don't have to do anything. For those of you who are currently following on YouTube, At the moment, 122 viewers. That's a lot of people. You have two options. If you're interested in the, because I'm going to suspend the stream. I'm going to stop the stream on Twitch right now, but I'm going to put two links before I do that in case you want to join. One link will take you to my gaming channel, in case you still want to remain on YouTube, but I will also give you the my link to my Twitch. So if you want, you can come and join. What game am I playing? I'm playing this game, Shadow of the Horned Rat, although I'm playing the DOS version, Warhammer. We're playing Warhammer Fantasy. So let me give you the link to my gaming channel very quickly. And it's this one here. One moment, please. Metatron's Protectorate. So you can come and join. You can be our guests. Why not? So this is the link to my gaming channel. And I'll give you the link to my Twitch. One moment. In case you're like, oh, I didn't know Metatron is on Twitch. Because I do go live on Twitch a bit more often than any other platform. So there is that. Boom. And that's my Twitch. I should do Half-Life Portal. I agree. Merci, merci. And yeah. Will I learn hieroglyphics? I did study them a little bit, but I should brush them up. Okay, guys. So massive thank you to everyone on Metatron's Academy on YouTube. It was fantastic to speak about languages with you, and I'll try to do this more often. Okay, so we can go live on the second channel too and do these multi-stream sessions with our friends over at Twitch. But for now, I'm gonna suspend the stream on YouTube. Nothing is gonna change on Twitch. Yeah, I will still be on YouTube, but I will start multi-streaming with the Protectorate now, because when I do gaming, I multi-stream between the Protectorate, my gaming channel, and Twitch. So that's what I'm gonna do, because there is no point at having me playing video games on a VOD on my language channel. I like to keep things nice and tidy. So then again, thank you, academics, noble academics, and have a great night. Thank you for following, and thank you for all your support. I'll post tomorrow a video, by the way, as usual. Have a good one. And for Twitch, stay live. We're gonna play some games. Grazie, arigato, xie, merci, gracias, and obrigado. And thank you. And danke. Ciao.